This is the murder case of Betty Gore and how she was betrayed by both her husband and a woman claiming to be one of her closest friends. Betty Gore, born Betty Elaine Pomeroy on January 9, 1950 in Harpers, Kansas, was born to Bob Pomeroy and his wife Bertha Pomeroy, one of 3 children. Cited as being one of the most popular girls in the rural county of Norwich, Texas, while working as a 5th grade teacher at R.C. Dodd Middle School, she wed Rockwell International Defense contractor Allan Gore in January 1970, and with him she had 2 daughters. An active parishioner of the First Methodist Church of Lucas, Texas, who not only sang in the church choir but also coordinated the congregation youth group and women division. She became quite close with one of her fellow parishioner, Candy Montgomery. Later, that would prove to be a deadly mistake. Upon befriending one another, unbeknownst to Betty, Candy and Allan Gore began meeting one another outside of church and their respective homes in secret, starting in December 1978, beginning an explicit affair. In June 1979, when Allan and Candy ended their affair following the birth of her second daughter, Bethany, the 2 families continued living as neighbors, and Candy's own children were so close to Betty. On the morning of June 13, 1980, Candy had stopped by to visit at her home wanting to collect a bathing suit that she was being given to fit her own daughter, Alicia, who was intended to spend that evening with the Gores. While conversing with Candy, Betty, who had long gained an understanding about what Candy and her husband had done in terms of infidelity, began asking Candy about the affair she had with Allan. Upon hearing this, Candy responded in rage, attacking Betty, ending in Betty's death. Candy struck Betty 41 times with an axe and would later claim that she was acting in self-defense after Betty got angry with her for having an affair with her husband. Allan and Betty met while he was her math teacher at a college in Texas. They moved to Wilder, Texas, had a small home, and had 2 girls, Bethany, who was 5 years old at the time of her mother's death, and Alicia, who was almost 1 year old. At first, Allan was not interested in having an affair with his wife, but he was deeply pursued by Candace, and some would say seduced into having an affair. As the affair continued, Allan grew regretful and felt like he was betraying his wife, something that he did not want to do, especially with their second child on the way. So one day, he sat down and talked to Candace and told her that he did not want to continue with the affair, and they should just go back and remain friends as if nothing had happened. Candace agreed, but in her heart, she could never let it go. She wanted Allan, and because he decided to choose his wife over her, she had to take care of the problem that she saw fit, and that was Betty Gore. On June 13, Allan hadn't heard from Betty, so he asked Candy if she had seen her, and Candy assured him that she was fine. He also asked another neighbor and asked them to use a house key to go check on Betty in their house. The youngest daughter was in her crib, and a gruesome crime scene close by. They reportedly saw an ocean of blood near the utility room and told Allan that Betty had been shot since they had not found her body. Police began investigating the crime scene and discovered that Betty had been stabbed 41 times with an axe. Although Candy initially claimed that she had an alibi during the killings, she became the primary suspect when authorities learned that she and Allan had had a months-long affair. Candy was arrested for Bethany murder on June 26, 1980. Candy stood trial for Bethany murder later that year and pleaded not guilty. During Candy's October 1980 trial, Allan took the stand to speak about their affair. Allan testified that she initiated the affair by allegedly telling him I was attracted to her, reported at the time. He continued sharing his side of the story and included details about their meetups in motels. Allan claimed that by October 1979, he had cut off his relationship with Candy because he could not share himself with her. However, he also claimed that their breakup was amicable and that they still occasionally occasionally ran into each other at church prior to Betty's death. After finding out about his wife's death, Allan said that he called Candy right away to tell her the news, and she expressed surprise and shock. He also said he saw her the day after Betty's body was found. Candy was eventually acquitted of Betty's death after claiming that she was only defending herself from Betty during a heated confrontation over the affair. She alleged that Betty was the one who grabbed the axe and she took it from her and slashed her in a blind rage. In the 45 years since his wife's trial, Allan had stayed out of the spotlight. He remarried a few months after the October 1980 trial, which caused significant tension between his and Betty's family. Betty's parents, Bob and Berta Pomeroy, received custody of Alicia and Bethany and raised them in Norwich, Kansas until their death. Bob died in 2003, while Berta died in 2010. Betty's brother, Ron Pomeroy, told a news outlet that Alicia and Bethany are grown adults with their own successful careers and children of their own. Meanwhile, Allan Gore divorced his second wife in 2010. He has since moved to Sarasota, Florida, where as of 2022 he was in a domestic partnership. As for Candy Montgomery, relocated to Georgia, where she remained underneath the radar and had a career as a mental health therapist. She has refused numerous amount of interviews over the years about the death of Betty Gore and what exactly had taken place. A committed wife, mother, sister, and daughter lost her life untimely because of her husband and friend betrayal to indulge in an unforbidden affair that brought out jealousy and envy of a woman that believed that she couldn't have him for herself. May Betty Gore continue to rest in peace and her soul shine bright. Until the next time on the Meaningful Talk Crime Doc, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you guys later in the comment section.